From a SIAM perspective, I think what's in our mind on the immediate horizon is to work with our OEMs to make sure that we engage many more OEMs beyond what was mentioned in the presentation at the beginning of the webinar. So we have a wider outreach of engagement with OEMs across segments of the industry. That's one. Second is we of course would each OEM has a what they call OSHA setups, which focus on occupational safety and health administration setups in each OEM. So we will work with OSHA setups in each of the OEMs, and more importantly, work with the materials department. I think materials department has a role to play because they will be the ones who will be engaging with the supply chain, which is where large action lies. And therein, I think there's a role to play because materials department can help in creating SOPs on worker safety, can look at training, hand holding, and probably look at and prioritize worker safety as important attribute as quality. I think there is a clear role with in terms of both OSHA setups as well as materials department with OEMs, and that's what we plan to do when we increase our bandwidth of engagement with OEMs across segments.
And to get that message to suppliers down the line, Mr. Menon, are you seeing that also as a part of the agenda going forward?
Absolutely. I think when I said materials department, we will work with materials department of each companies as a partner who will facilitate us to reach out to wider supply chain. And of course, we'll work closely with ACMA because we have a very close engagement. So we will of course partner with ACMA. But as Vinny mentioned, there's a larger bandwidth of value chain which we need to cover, and that's what we will try and do with OEMs.
Right. I'm going to set aside the lacuna in the OSH code. I'm going to set aside, legislation and regulation implementation issues and ask as producers.
Right. So
a safety audit.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no denying that. Manvi, the right way to go about is when an OEM does a procurement, and that's what Rajesh was referring to their supply or sourcing teams. They do various kinds of audits of the suppliers. Okay. One can also include a safety audit. Okay. And say, hey, if there are so many accident days or you can just define something. Okay, you define on quality, right? You can define something on accidents also and say, look, we're not going to buy from you if you exceed a certain number of accidents or you've not been sort of taking care of your people in a certain defined manner. And mind you, some of the OEMs say Maruti has a very fantastic institution called MACE, which has a very state-of-the-art lab on safety. Okay, so it's not that the industry is not doing things. ACMA runs cluster programs. We have run interventions in 1,200 plus companies, and we've benchmarked some of them with the zero accident days. We've instituted awards on safety. Actually, the awards on safety we instituted post the first report. Okay, we have counselors who go and upgrade factory shop floors, and all my counselors today have undergone a very rigorous training with DuPont, which is something like a benchmark globally in terms of their safety practices. So again, audits definitely, if we can bring them in. And there are, again, Manvi, it's somewhere a glass half full, and we really need to cover that ground that's not full. Till such time, these kind of challenges will keep on happening, and therein role comes in for Sandeep, who keeps on literally showing us the scorecard. And I think we need to work together so that half full becomes completely full, and that's the way it should be.